Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching this webinar. It's part of the Unified IT series, and it's really about how to manage the IT costs that are spiking at the moment with employees working from home, and especially sharing some considerations with you if this becomes more of a longer-term situation. My name is Edward Zazel. I am the general manager of the ESM team here at Fusion 5, and my team handles everything about unified IT for the organization and for our customers. So just to set the context, there are a few things that are causing the spike in running costs. If you are a virtual desktop type of organization, meaning you use Citrix or VMware, you are now struggling with getting more and more users onto the same capacity that you have. And of course, the quick answer is to add more capacity, which increases the cost. So we'll talk about that. Similarly, if you're an Azure or AWS organization and you've moved a lot of your systems from on-premise into the cloud, those resources are reaching maximum thresholds because you're probably needing more and more processing power for accessibility, and probably standing up more resources there. Not only that, just from a health check or a review of what you're currently using, it's probably not a bad time to do that, because if you can save any cost, it's a good thing, and I'll talk about that. Of course, your users, coming in through their home PCs or laptops or tablets or whatever through their home networks is via VPN. So the bandwidth and infrastructure that your organization currently have is being challenged. It's in some cases bursting at the seams. So being able to communicate over pure internet there's never been a better time to actually look at technologies that do that. And no matter what I propose in this webinar, what we're hearing from customers is they definitely want stuff that is provides them with a quick win, easy to set up, easy to maintain. So with that in mind, I'm going to share with you 5 recommendations that can definitely help you run more lean, more efficiently, and definitely save you money both during the crisis and beyond. So the first thing that I recommend is to better manage your hardware resources. So the capacity that you have. Now there's a nice little tool, and there's a free trial. It's very easy to set up, takes less than 2 hours. And the benchmark there is you can achieve between a 20 and a 40% cost saving on capacity. Right, as you can see in the top right hand side of the screen, this tool works for just normal physical assets or virtual ones or terminal services. And what it allows you to do is set rules and give priority to mission critical applications. So not to bog the processing resources with just BAU sort of stuff. If your users are actually reporting performance issues and are not able to do their jobs from working from home, this is very, very powerful. And you can see there are some examples of the granular control that we can actually leverage. So even if you had to dust off really old laptops that were really designed for Windows 10 and you've put Windows 10 on them and it's really not helping the employees, we can even help you manage those old pieces of hardware better by deploying this tool. Then you can see from a virtualization perspective, at the end of the day, Citrix and VMware, they do have their own features within the tools to achieve a subset of this, but none of those tools are as comprehensive as this Ivanti Performance Manager. And the whole point is to be able to facilitate more user sessions virtually for you without you having to purchase more capacity. So if that's something you're struggling with now, please do definitely reach out to us. So cloud. So the second thing I recommend is controlling your cloud consumption. Now this is something that is typically BAU and should have been done, but in the odd chance that it hasn't, or now due to capacity and demand changes, you're looking at it again. I just thought I'd share with you some of the things that are quick wins that you can do inside your AWS and Azure consoles, right? So you can, if your IT teams, the development teams, and any team that uses resources on these platforms haven't done so, please recommend that they do. Basically, shut down any resources that are don't need to be on after hours, right? So you can automate a lot of these policies, set rules that will pretty much switch things off. I know it sounds very simple and logical and a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised, especially depending on the size of your organization, where you have a lot of stakeholders involved and you don't really have that holistic visibility of all your tenant resources. Similarly, right-sizing the instances, and this is a Achilles heel. When you're starting a project or trying to provision something, most of the time, detailed feasibility studies are not done. So people go with, they look at systems requirements, documents, and things like that, and they just go with the upper ceiling to avoid having to come back and add capacity. And most of the time after or during the project, if you have a look at the resources being used, they're probably overspec'd for what they're doing, especially if they're development environments where you have no more than 10 users using the system. There's really no need for exaggerated amounts of CPU and RAM, which comes at a cost, of course. Now, if you're running a project-based cloud infrastructure, there are features to set expiry dates, right? Like so more often than not, well after a project's finished, the resources are still there, and that's costing you money. Storage is another usual suspect, similar to the right sizing of the instances. So definitely review the storage, especially storage attached to virtual machines that you no longer need, because they stay there. Yep, so definitely look at that. And also maybe restrict the templates that are available for your admins on your tenants to provision new VMs with certain specs. Just come up with a corporate standard, maybe one on the high end, one on the low end, and do that. It will save you money. It all adds up. Again, there are other things to consider, such as regions. So if performance is really not an important factor of the project, meaning it's just a proof of concept or a perishable sort of engagement, why don't you use lower cost hosting regions? And also the different cloud backup policies and things like that. Now, if you've had to, unfortunately, right-size your organization and reduce your workforce, have you recently looked at your Office 365 licenses and Azure licenses? Do you still need that capacity that you've previously purchased? So they're just some of the things I thought I'd share with you. And of course, if this is overwhelming you or you don't have the resources to do it in-house, please do reach out to us. I mean, our managed services department do this stuff day in and day out, and given the circumstances, we are offering special rates to do this exercise on your behalf. Now, if you just want to know your situation and potential cost savings, we would just minimize the engagement and just produce a deliverable document with the things that you should look at. Or if you want us to actually go ahead and do it for you, we're more than happy to do that for you as well. And just a note there from a skill set perspective, we're cloud agnostic. We support a lot of business applications, Microsoft, Oracle, and the list keeps going on. And of course, different vendors and software providers use different platforms, and we're pretty much skilled in all of them, as you can see on the screen. So we can definitely help you control your cloud consumption costs. If anything, I hope there are a few points there for you to consider, and talk to your teams about. Now, this is becoming really important, and nowhere near enough organizations are actually configured correctly for this, especially that the crisis crept up on us, the pandemic. Now, I always like to simplify things, and what I've decided to share with you here is the ABC of prevention. So this is all about security. This is all about answering the question in orange. Are you able to help your employees if they get compromised at home? And if you can answer yes and why, and go through and make sure that you're happy with your policies and tools, great. Now, the 1, 2, 3 is really the important part that we can do right now. We can always go back to prevention, and we can have different conversations about that and how we can help you set up some of these safeguards. But essentially, the three things that I'm recommending you look at is, are you able to isolate the infected, compromised device in the employee's home network remotely? Are you able to re-image that machine? Are you able to patch it after you re-image it? Right? And if your answer is yes, you can do all that now, then that's great. But most of the customers I speak to haven't thought about this contingency plan. So we're definitely one of the hot topics we're having discussions around customers, just to make sure they can manage risk, security risk in a work from home environment. And again, the technology itself, to demonstrate the capability, we're very easy to set up, and we're more than happy to run free trials to show you how that would look like in your environment. Similar business requirement, which is security, just a slightly different audience here. So the audience is not really your employees working from home. This is more about your cloud infrastructure in your data center, all those things that you're hosting in either Azure or AWS or Google Cloud or whatever. We're having some chats with different customers about this, and their methods for patching and securing those environments are what we call traditional, which means without unified IT. And some of the cons of that approach are listed on the screen for you. People complain about having small armies of people running around patching stuff. Some of those teams work outside office hours. No linkage into change control processes, which is a risk in itself. Lots of tools, which has a compounded negative effect on cost. And of course, limited coverage. What we mean by that is having a holistic view of your landscape is limited, because you do need to talk to a whole bunch of people to actually get the full view of things. So with unified IT, it's all about automation, and automation saves money, right? So we can schedule automated scans for missing patches. We can automatically send reports to stakeholders telling them of the risk in their assets that they need to look at. We can also automatically send approvals to the stakeholders to authorize the deployment of patches outside office hours or during the maintenance windows. We would submit change requests automatically to your change control system, so you can roll back, you have auditability. The other big gap that's overlooked is what about your non-Microsoft applications? How are you patching those, and can you be doing that better? So the solution, or unified IT, caters for over 1,800 non-Microsoft applications, as well as the Microsoft applications, and that's why it's called a unified IT approach. So there's definitely cost savings there to be had, because it's a single platform with a couple of different flavors of how to patch things. You either patch them over the internet, patch them agentlessly, or patch them the old-fashioned way, but at least it's one agent that does Windows, Linux, and Mac. And that's not where it stops. It's all about the top 4 security and legislation changes around application whitelisting and privileges management, which is how malware can infect your organization. This is much more advanced than just antivirus and malware tools. This is a proven methodology to actually minimize your risk on zero-day attacks. That's the day that a new virus or malware is introduced and you're the unlucky first victim, which means the malware and antivirus haven't had a chance to update their content, right? And finally, automation, being able to create big, long workflows for complex environments, bringing machines on and off as you desire, running tests, then moving on to patching the next set of machines and things like that. So you can see it's a pretty comprehensive approach, and if that was a little bit confusing, I apologize. I put a graphical representation of what I just said. I mean, example there, if you're using something like WSUS or Windows updates, yep, you do have protection for your Windows or Microsoft, I should say, environment, but it is somewhat basic. If you have multiple tools for the different operating environments and applications that you have, it's a definitely better coverage. But for the most comprehensive coverage that you can possibly get, you definitely need to look at something like unified IT. And again, due to the ease of use of the underlying tool sets, we're happy to do proof of concepts around different parts of patching, so you can see what you're able to do very quickly. And last but not least, going back to the employees themselves that are stuck at home, trying to do their jobs and be productive, the last thing they need is to not be able to do what they need to do because of IT issues, right? So again, in less than 2 days flat, we can set up the ability for your IT folks to deploy sensors to the machines that work over pure internet. So your employees don't need to VPN in to get IT support or get IT to help them, right? And this works with any endpoint management solution you have already. Ivanti have their own, and Fusion 5 uses the Ivanti Endpoint Manager tool. However, if you have Intune, SCCM, as you can see on the screen, that's just a subset of the different connectors that we have. Yeah, you can get up and running really quickly and get that extra level of support to give to your users while they work from home. So yeah, in summary, I hope those 5 tips help you. And if you need help with anything, please reach out to your Unified IT specialist. You can see there are a big list of different tools that are, free to try before you buy, that you'll be able to, leverage value immediately and try and get control of your IT spend during this work from home period. Thank you very much for your time, and talk to you soon.